So I've been teaching now for about 10 years. I teach both principles of micro and macro. When students take micro, they're more engaged, they're excited. And I think that has a lot to do with how we teach micro. If you think about day one, we're talking about opportunity cost. We're talking about opportunity cost of them going to college. We're talking about the opportunity cost of them coming to class. It relates to that. We talk about marginal analysis for the students. What's the marginal benefit of having that next beer? What's the marginal cost of having that next beer? It relates to them. Markets, pizza, and beer. Just about everything we do in micro ties into the 18 to 22-year-old mindset. Macro doesn't have that same relation, right? Macro's hard for students to get a grasp around. 18 to 22-year-olds really don't care about GDP. They don't care about inflation. They've never observed inflation, right? In their lifetime, inflation's never been over 2%. So how do we get them engaged, and how do we get them learning skills or something useful out of a macroeconomics course? So this is my attempt. So this graph you guys have probably seen floating around social media, branches of economics, micro and macro. Micro is very good at explaining events that never happen. Macro is horrible at explaining events that always happen. So I don't know what's in that bottom left quadrant, but fortunately it's not econ. So we have that going for us. So with macro, if we have a theory that's not very good at explaining these events that happen all the time, but then we want 18 and 20-year-olds to know that theory, they're not going to get anything out of that class. So the pressure's on us, right? We will spend tons of resources building textbooks, building data, building graphs in the textbooks. But already the new edition is 2 years outdated. Right? You go and you look at a graph of unemployment, and it says it's 6.5%. You look at GDP growth. If it's during a recession, it's saying we're in an expansion. So the pressure falls on the professor to update data, update figures prior to class. Now, how many of us actually have time to do that? Right? None of us. Right? How many of us actually will spend, go through my slides, oh, I got to update this figure, I got to do this. Well, that's my goal. So using PowerPoint, how can we better engage our students with data? A lot of us will copy and paste images into PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you a real quick shortcut that will make our lives a little bit easier, and then I'm going to get in and explain some of the data usages that we have. So instead of copying and pasting an image, right, which is typically what we do, if you save the image and then in PowerPoint you can link to it, every time you update that image, your file in PowerPoint will also automatically be updated. So it saves at least one step from the professor on updating the data prior to going to class. So the only thing it really requires is the click of two buttons, right? Link image and save image. So on a PC, it's 3 steps. You click the button. On the lower right, there's a tab that says click insert to link image, right? So all you do is click insert, and then you select the very bottom option, image and link. So what this does is it basically activates your figure in PowerPoint. So whenever you save over a figure, what's going to happen is you open PowerPoint, that new figure will be presented for the students. So it prevents you from having to go back in and redo everything a second time. If you use a Mac, it's actually a little bit simpler. Same first step. Second step, check those 2 boxes. So quick, easy way to ensure your figures are always updated in your presentation. So most of us are familiar with the Federal Reserve Economic Database by now. So lots of data. So now how can we get that data in the classroom? Well, the easiest way is if you create an account in Fred, you can then save graphs to that account. And that's a nice feature because one of the options when you save to that account is to always use the last 10 years of data or the last 15 years of data. So you're going to automatically be using current data. So once you've done that step, the next step is simple. Just save the image to your file. Your PowerPoint presentations will automatically be updated. Everything will be ready to go, and you're going to class prepared with all of the most current data. To me, that's a big step in engaging the students. When we want to talk about unemployment, it helps if the students can visualize what is that situation. One of the other things I like with Fred is there's so much data available, you can use the data to tie into the students' lives. Right? What's the unemployment rate for those 16 to 19, 20 to 24, for those without a high school degree, those with a high school degree, or those with a college degree? So again, it allows us to bring the data current to the student to give them a better state of the economy. The dashboard. So the dashboard's great because you can go in and you can create a series of graphs. So you can see all the different types of graphs you can create. You can create pie charts, you can create scatter plots. So that lower one is a Phillips curve. The one next to it is a bar graph that shows the unemployment rates by age. So you can easily get this tied into students. You can give them the link in advance. You can have them look at the graphs before class. We can also access it on mobile devices. So if you want to do an in-class assignment, everyone will have access to the data. One of the new features that I really like with Fred is the embed feature. So if you go to the webpage blog link there, one of the nice features, this is a webpage I use over the summertime, the figure you can embed with iframe, and that makes it active. And so if you scroll the mouse over that figure, you can play around with it. You can move the time span, you can look at the actual values. So again, it's a way of getting the students access to the most current data and engage them more in discussion during the classroom. So let's go back to the slides. The last one, which is the one I actually really like here, is the GeoFred mapping tool. It's a nice mapping tool that allows you to plot data down by county if you want unemployment rates, per capita income. And again, it further engages the student because they can see how they're much different than other people. So if you are a user of Fred or you want to use Fred, we don't need to click this link, but there's a video tutorials that NYU has done that's phenomenal. It'll walk you through everything. So there's a great resource out there for those teaching principles of macro, how you can use it in the classroom to engage students, but then also you can get students involved as well. Key on all this is because we've now activated all of the images in PowerPoint to link to a file, all you have to do before class is just save your images, right? Go to your saved account, save file, and it will automatically be updated into your slides. So that way you are presenting the most current data available. One website that I really like is a website called Quandl. So this is one that I'm just starting to play around with a little bit, and it's actually really powerful. They have a premium account, which you don't need to pay for. Very few of us will ever actually use that data. They have a free account that gives you access to just about any database that is online. So it accesses Fred, anything from our government, international governments, international central banks, World Bank, IMF, just about every single data source that is free to access. They have canned it so you can access it in one spot. Now, the advantage with Quandl and Fred is not so much interacting with the web page, but interacting with it through Excel or other programming methods. Most of us are familiar with Excel. Both Fred and Quandl have Excel add-ins. So you can go on and you can create a file that will automatically update your data, create your images, have a little bit more customization with that. Right? Again, both of them have a video tutorial. Go through, walk through it. Pros, everyone's familiar with it. Right? Allows users to create custom figures. A nice little feature. The cons, it's a little bit clunky to download all the data if you want. If you're thinking of making a bunch of graphs, different sheets for each graph, so it's a little bit harder to use. Right? And the data doesn't always update as easily. So what I do is more of some of the advanced programming. So for those that are familiar with Stata, SAS, R, and even eViews, this is, I think, even an easier route to go. Right? Because what you can do is write your own program that calls in the data to the database. Right? You can write, for Stata, I was talking with Alex beforehand, where you just write the command, pulls the data in automatically, and you just rerun the same file, and all the data is going to be updated. Save your image, auto-replace, so everything will be updated in the PowerPoint slides. So for Stata, SAS, and R, the commands that are out there are the following. Right? Most of us, if you use Stata, are familiar with FredUse. There's Quandl. There's WB Open Data that directly accesses the World Bank. Right? With SAS, there's those commands, and R has a suite of commands as well. All these are a nice benefit because it sort of saves you a little bit of time. There's a sort of a setup cost of preparing the figures. Once you do that, all you do is click a button, run the program. All the images are now created, saved in your file, open your PowerPoint, everything's updated. So before class, it takes you probably 3 minutes to update every single figure in your PowerPoint presentation for your entire semester. Quick example in Stata, you're familiar with the commands. Quick command gets you a quick unemployment rate. You can do it a little bit fancier, add in the MBER recession dates, and you can make it even fancier. You can get a really nice graph out of it. Once you've spent the time doing it once, everything else will be automatically updated. So it's a huge investment cost, but then going forward, everything will be pretty much seamless. So that's sort of my hope in that with teaching principles of macro, we can provide the students with the data that they need. And make it current, right? Bring it back so they're not looking at figures that are 2, 3, 4 years old. Thank you.